All right. In this lesson, we're going to learn about active transport. An active transport is the movement of molecules or ions across a cell membrane against their concentration gradient. Now, what does this mean? This means that they move from an area of lower concentration to an area of higher concentration, natural flow, or you can say gradient. It requires a direct input of cellular energy, usually in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So, remember we talked about passive transport when we discussed osmosis and diffusion. Now, during passive transport, the movement is like a ball rolling down a hill, so there is no energy needed. Active transport is like a ball being pushed up a hill. So, in this scenario, energy is required. So, let's look at the types of active transport that we have. Active transport is broadly categorized into two main types based on how they source their energy. We have primary active transport, and then we have secondary active transport or co-transport. In primary active transport, there is a direct use of ATP to power the transport of molecules. The transport protein is often an ATPase. This means that it can break down ATP into ABP, that is adenosine diphosphate, releasing the energy needed to change its conformation and pump the substance across the membrane. A classic example of this is the sodium-potassium pump. This is one of the most common pumps in animal cells, maintaining the concentration gradient necessary for nerve impulse transmission and cellular homeostasis. It pumps three sodium ions out of the cell and two potassium ions into the cell at every ATP molecule consumed. Next, the secondary active transport or co-transport. This type does not directly use ATP. Instead, it uses the potential energy stored in the electrochemical gradient, that is an ion concentration difference, that was previously created by primary active transport. So, how does this work? Two substances are transported simultaneously. One substance, like the sodium ion, moves down its concentration gradient, releasing energy. This favorable movement is coupled to the transport of a second substance, like glucose, that is moving up its concentration gradient, requiring energy. So, let's look at the types of co-transporters that we have. There are two types of co-transporters. We have the Symport and the Antiport. In the Symport, both substances move in the same direction across the cell membrane. An example of this is sodium and glucose moving into the cell. And then Antiport. Here, the two substances move in opposite directions. An example of this is sodium moving into the cell while calcium moves out of the cell. Active transport is a normal occurrence in all living things. For example, in human digestion, the uptake of glucose and amino acids from the gut into the bloodstream is achieved through secondary active transport, ensuring that essential nutrients are fully absorbed even when their concentration is low in the gut. In plant nutrition, root hair cells use active transport to absorb mineral ions like nitrates and chlorides from the soil, where they are typically in much lower concentration than inside the cell. That's it for the basic overview of what active transport is. If you found this video helpful, click the like button, click the share button, Leave a comment if you don't understand any aspect of the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.